YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, trying not to be annoyed, as I have really struggled to get videos made the last couple of days. I've spent hours working, and between computer crashes and drops and just battles that weren't exactly what I was hoping to show, I've spent hours and accomplished nothing, as you might have noticed, because nothing was uploaded. So it's been a frustrating couple of days here, but I guess that happens sometimes, and I'm trying not to get too upset in the end, because it is just a game. I'm just trying to record some videos. So I take Carthage versus Rome, hoping for a nice tough matchup here, and I think I'm going to get one. My opponent has 3 Hastati, 6 Veteran Legionaries, which are basically the new Evocati. Evocati price got increased slightly, so a lot of people just switched over to these Veteran Legionaries, which I don't even know that Evocati got increased by like 10 talents, but it wasn't substantial. But a lot of people seem to be into the Veteran Legionaries lately, just because it helps them bring more units overall. 3 Syrian Archers, 4 Legionary Cav. Kind of surprised to not see more Legionary Cav, but instead my opponent opts to bring more Skirmishers and then these 2 Spear units. I think Auxiliary Spear units are a very poor choice. They don't have Javelins. They're not good Spear units against other Spear units. They're terrible against Sword units. And even if they can get into a Cav fight, again, without the Javelins, it makes them less desirable. Now, they have decent armor and some other stats. Well, I mean, their morale is pretty bad. And health's not that great either. I mean, decent armor and defense, but I mean, their attack is terrible. I don't recommend using them. He should have just brought 2 more Hastati, and it would have made his army a lot more dangerous to mine to have those 2 Hastati. Now, for me, I took a couple of risks. One is this Noble Cavalry here. I brought this Noble Cav, which, you know, looking back on it as soon as I started the battle, I was like, this is a mistake. Why would I bring an already crappy Noble Cavalry against a faction that can easily field cheaper cavalry units than my own and outnumber me and overwhelm this type of unit? So really lucky that my opponent did not bring more than 4 cav. Otherwise, I've got a Carthaginian cav here, 2 Scutari cav on the other flank. I believe 7 Libyan infantry, 1 Noble infantry. I don't usually bring more than 6 of the same, but I didn't figure Libyan infantry are really abusing anything, so I brought 7 of them. 3 mercenary Gallic warriors to be meat shields, and 2 Cretan archers. I have no way to win the skirmish fight. I don't have enough cavalry to really play with my opponent's army here, and he can easily defend his skirmishers back there. I can't really just go take an engagement against my opponent up on this hill. I will absolutely lose the battle if that's the case, and the more and more I think about it, the only unit I brought here that really makes sense is the mercenary noble fighter. And the meat shields. The rest of my army, I mean, if you think about it, I just didn't really bring enough killing power. I'd hoped these Cretans would provide killing power, but my opponent brought a bunch of his own Syrian archers, and to be honest, I think just a straight-up Roman infantry spam would have been very dangerous to my army here, as opposed to even having brought skirmishers and spearmen. I would have probably rather ditched these Cretan archers and just brought a couple more infantry units myself, or potentially I could have brought up to 4 late Libyan hoplites for the same cost, and that would have helped me outflank and get rear charges against my opponent, and then use my meat shields effectively to interrupt his main line and then go for an engagement with my mainline infantry after they've been weakened. So that could have potentially been good for me. Now, my opponent is going to, for the moment, stay within support range of his auxiliary infantry, which is a good idea, because my cavalry can easily destroy his. So I'm a little hesitant to engage him, but then over here my opponent starts making some weird moves and brings his cavalry up way too far away from the support of his auxiliary infantry. Plus, if I need to, I can bring a Gallic warrior over here to support. And he is taking advantage of the fact that he can defeat me with his archers, but he's allowing me to kill quite a few of his Syrians at the same time. And for some reason, he moves to engage me, and he moves into a single line. Both of those decisions, and again, not trying to be mean to my opponent, I'm just trying to call the replay here. Both of those decisions were a mistake. My opponent never should have gone into a single line and had no reason to engage me whatsoever, because he could have easily won this skirmish fight by focus firing against my Cretans. I do make a mistake and let my Cretans get a little too far forward here. I do pull them back, though, I believe. Yeah, there we go. He engages me again with his Legionary Cav against my Scutari Cav. He gets a downhill charge here, so that'll be okay, but he's going to die in both of these fights in the long run, I believe. These Legionary Cav are being beaten badly by my Scutari Cav, and these guys have already evened out that fight as well. So Legionary Cav's going to be defeated. He does reinforce with auxiliary infantry, and I didn't quite get the charge I wanted here with the Gallic infantry. And let's take a look what's going on elsewhere. I get nice engagements all along the line. You can see my charges here were actually appropriate, and I'm going to swing around and charge this unit here too, just to keep it from outflanking. My opponent does have 1 extra unit, though. This is dangerous for me on this flank. But through here, if we take a look at a couple of different points, These Libyan infantry have absolutely destroyed this Hastati. It's already wavering from an attack in the rear penalty just due to the way that the charge took place. And then over here, this veteran legionary is getting destroyed by a mercenary noble fighter. They're already down 40 men to 5 losses on my noble fighter, so they're getting annihilated. I've engaged his legionary cab. It's going to take a ridiculously long time for my noble cab to finish them off because they suck. I'm going to lose here. And then, of course, I pin down my opponent. But I've already got a breakthrough, so now I can start to wrap up the enemy lines here. So basically, I can come and make attacks here and just kind of keep it going. Now, my opponent makes kind of a questionable move here again. And again, not trying to say this to be mean. I make questionable decisions in my army choice and stuff as well. But as far as countering what my opponent does, I think I actually did fairly well in this battle. So far, at least. We'll see how it ends. I'm able to pin my opponent's Numidian cab, and he does very little damage here, whereas he probably could have just annoyed and destroyed this Scutari cab. And then my opponent lets my cavalry get around him here, and I'm going to get into his archers, which really could have played a key role here. But now instead, he's going to suffer a lot. I'm going to be able to pull this Libyan infantry over here into this fight, and then my mercenary noble fighter is going to get a nice clean charge into these veteran legionaries who are already engaged. And so this is going to be the second veteran legionary that this noble fighter is going to annihilate. So these guys are paying dividends for me right now. These Gallic warriors are going to prove how they can be cost effective. This is against a quite expensive, well, I say that it's probably about an 800 talent unit. This is about a 350 talent Gallic warrior. They are going to get a lot of kills versus this veteran legionary, probably 30 or 40 kills, just because they got a good charge and they're in nice thin lines, and they're going to be able to really get around the Roman and cause a lot of damage. A lot of damage. And here my opponent's going to lose a legionary cav and Libyan and auxiliary infantry, because both are engaging a Libyan infantry and they should not be. And yeah, it's just overall going pretty well for me. By getting a hold of these archers, my opponent can't use them effectively, and they really haven't played a critical role in this battle. He basically got rid of my Cretan archers, but he paid for 3 Syrian archers to get rid of my 2 Cretan archers, and hasn't caused a whole lot of damage beyond killing my Cretan archers. So really that's going quite well for me at the moment. My opponent has to drop his general's abilities because he thinks his general's going to die. He's being chased by a Scutari cav. And so he drops them both, and the loyalty of the 10th only hits this veteran legionary that was already doomed, and this auxiliary Syrian archer, so I basically forced him to waste that. Yeah, it could have been pretty helpful to use that general ability right here where I broke through early in the center, and if he would have used it, that could have created some pretty serious problems for me. But yeah, I got that breakthrough, and again, look at these Gallic warriors finally being beat down, but they took these guys from like almost 90 units down to 54, so about 40 kills for my Gallic warriors there. Very, very cost effective for me. It basically renders these guys almost combat ineffective at this point. So my noble fighters and Gallic warriors just finished mopping up that guys. So 182 veteran legionaries killed by my noble fighters at this point. So veteran schmetteren according to my noble fighters, because they are just going to keep shredding Romans. The cav fight has finally freed my guys up here, so I'm going to be able to bring this noble horse back over here into the fight. It has hardly accomplished anything in this battle. 1,000 talent cavalry unit barely killing a 530 talent unit, and then being delayed to combat is a horrible trade for me. So this is the second group of Celtic warriors that these veteran legionaries are going to have to face, and they don't look too terribly excited about it. They're about to get javelined as well. I don't know if the Romans have any javelins left. We'll find out. They do not. Or yeah, they do. They threw a few at the last second. Yeah, my mercenary Gallic warriors are going to probably finish off this veteran legionary. Over here in the center, my opponent's left with just a couple of units that won this flank. So my opponent did win this flank, but he lost pretty much everywhere else. I think that a few army changes, and just honestly, just the way he engaged here would have easily helped him win this battle. I didn't bring elephants against the Romans because I knew that my opponent could bring archers, and so in some ways that was a win for me. He probably expected elephants and didn't get them, and in some ways that's probably what saved me here. His archers cost quite a bit of money, and he wasn't able to really get much out of them. Here my opponent's going to get charged on both sides. Mercenary noble fighters coming in for even more, and I put them into headhunt because why not? It's late in the battle at this point. And they are skyrocketing over 200 kills here, pretty much all veteran legionaries on those kills. Got another Libyan infantry coming in. These mercenary Gallic warriors, 120 kills. These guys have been ruthless in the battle. My Gallic warriors all doing very well. And I think my general finally got one rear charge in and killed a few more Romans. Yeah, at this point the Romans are pretty much gone. My Scutari Cav gonna run down a few more of these Syrian archers, though they'll probably lose if they stick around in this fight, which they kind of have to. But I mean, it's pretty much the end of the battle anyway. Watch the last few Romans getting chopped by my Carthaginian troops, so it was a very close battle. And honestly, Rome should have had it here, in my opinion. If they would have, number one, not engaged me until they had emptied their ammo all over, like, say, they could have forced me to engage uphill. And it was already a Pyrrhic victory, so me engaging uphill would probably have made it a clear victory for the Romans. He had me outnumbered, he had better terrain, he had better skirmishers, and he engaged me. I just don't think that was a good choice. Allowing my Gallic warriors to get this many kills is also problematic for him. These units are very cheap, and they got some very important kills. And then these mercenary noble fighters did exactly what I needed them to. They munched up a lot of very expensive Roman infantry, and then even a couple of my Libyan infantry doing pretty well. Archers did what they could. My Scutari Cav did very well in this battle, and then my noble Cav, it was pretty crummy. So I think the key here is when you're going to play as Rome against Carthage, you do have to kind of prepare against elephants, because the elephants are going to be a huge potential danger to you. But the thing is, Carthage doesn't have like devastating charges like the other barbarian, or Carthage isn't a barbarian faction, but Carthage doesn't have devastating charges like barbarian factions do. So really as the Roman, if you use your Hastati meat shields properly, just go ahead and engage in two lines. Wear down the enemy some. Gallic warriors don't do very well against Hastati. Bring plenty of Hastati. They will be very helpful in a fight against a unit like Carthage, or against a faction like Carthage. They have javelins. They can throw them at elephants potentially. They can absorb elephant charges. There's just tons of things they can do to be useful, whereas auxiliary infantry aren't as useful. You also have the option as Rome, I think, to bring like 6 equites. So let me just give you an example here real quick, just so I can give you some tips. So if you're going to bring Rome in here, and he brought a general and bodyguard too. That's a waste of 20 talents. Just bring the legatus. And then this is why they choose the veteran legionaries. They're 40 cheaper for just a little bit difference. So good choice. 6 veteran legionaries, a solid backbone to an army. He had 3 Hastati. Why not 2 more to get rid of those auxiliary infantry? I mean, so now he's got a ton of meat shield units, a very strong backbone to his army. And then the legionary cav, I mean, it's honestly not a whole lot better than equites. I mean, it is a little better morale-wise, but I mean, equites are pretty cheap. I mean, you could throw in 6 of these guys. Look at that, no problem, 6 of these guys. Do I have it on huge funds or something? Yeah, here, let's go to large funds so we can actually see what it would look like. Still have 1,920 talents remaining. Do you have to be careful of elephants? Sure. Though, to be honest, I mean, if you want to deal with the elephants, just bring a couple of units of levies. And then spend your last bit of money on maybe better infantry. So you got these Hastati. Look, I can throw in even more veteran legionaries there. How in the world would I have beat this? I can't get around his cav. You know, what are my Cretans going to do? I mean, even if they mow down a whole unit, they don't have enough ammo. And there's 8 veteran legionaries, meat shielded by Hastati with 5 equites guarding. I mean, that's pretty tricky for me to beat. Plus, he could come up here and drop the loyalty of the 10th and really make his guys stay in that fight. Honestly, I mean, Carthage definitely has tools to beat Rome, but Rome also has the tools to beat Carthage, in my mind. They can use that heavy infantry advantage against the fact that Carthage doesn't particularly have great charges. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this one. It was fun. I'm learning a little. I was happy in that battle. I did better on my charges, my initial charges in the engagement. It paid dividends for me in the end. So I think that was a bit of an improvement for me, and I'll keep trying to improve my game as I go on here and try and give you all some tips. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.